In this segment, what I want to do is show you how Nmap works. So the first thing we're going to do is do a scan with the Nmap command line version, and then I'll show you how Nmap, the front end, the GUI works, called Nmap. So let's go ahead and do a simple TCP full connect scan. And a full connect is where the scanner actually tries to establish a full TCP connection with the target. And what happens is it sends a SYN and the SYN ACK and then the final ACK back. And this is very noisy. In other words, an IDS will pick this up very quickly. If you own the network and you're just the system administrator that's scanning, this is an okay scan to use. If you want to be stealthy, of course, you probably don't want to use this one. But this will demonstrate how to use Nmap in its simplest form. So I've got a couple of hosts out there, and they're in the 192, 168, 163 range. And so I'm just going to scan a piece of that range to see what we get back. So I'm typing in Nmap -ST, and that's for a full TCP connect scan. And I want to do 192.168.163. And I'm going to say .135, for example, through, say, 150. We'll give it that range. I know my hosts are somewhere in that range. And then we're going to say OK. And it's going to start off scanning. And it shouldn't take that very long because there are very few hosts up. And a simple TCP scan is not going to come back and tell you a whole lot. It will tell you whether the computer is up and what ports it's running. So it's finished. And if we go on up to the top here, I can show you exactly what it came up with. We know that 141 is up, and it shows us what ports are open: 135, 149, 145. And it also gives us the MAC address. Now, based upon this, we might say that this is probably a Windows box. We also have another box that's up, 142, that it saw. And again, those are Windows ports that are up. We also have a 143 that it really didn't tell us much about. And I'll tell you that that's the backtrack box that we just scanned from. So it scanned itself and didn't find any ports that were open. So we got two Windows boxes. Now, had there been any other boxes up, like another Linux box, it would have probably have detected that as well. So we didn't really do any OS fingerprinting detection or anything like that. It was just a simple connect scan to see if the hosts were up and what they might be running. And we guessed for ourselves that there were two Windows boxes. So let's go ahead and take a look at Nmap FE, which has now become Nmap, and that's the GUI front end for Nmap. So let's minimize this. And I have Wireshark running also that I'm going to start up. And I'll show you the Wireshark capture a little bit later. Let's minimize this for now. And what I want to do is go into Backtrack and find my information gathering tools. And what I'm looking for is network scanners. And right here we find Nmap. Let's open up Nmap. And I'm going to give it the same parameters: 192.168.163.135 through 150. And as you can see, as I put the target range in there, it fills in the command line. This is the actual command line you would use if you wanted to type it in. So Nmap FE or Nmap can do that for you. I also told it to do an intense scan, which is a more involved scan, a more in-depth scan, and it will tell us like OS fingerprinting and a little bit more information. We can do this from the command line also. So I'm going to go ahead and scan, and this is basically just to show you how Nmap works. Let's make it a little bit bigger here. And it's going to scan those hosts, that range, and it may come back and tell us that those hosts are down. And this can actually take a few minutes. An intense scan can take a few minutes, even on a couple of hosts. So when we run this, typically it's a good idea to go get some coffee and come back and wait on it. So I'm going to pause this for a second, and then when it finishes, then we'll have our results here. Okay, our scan is complete. And since this is the graphical version of Nmap, there's some cute little things that the command line version won't do for us. First of all, we can look at our different hosts just by clicking a tab here, and that's kind of cool. We can also click on the services and figure out what it found primarily. It will list all the services there. Here's our output, and again, it's very similar to what we see when we scan with command line, but there's a few other differences here. Basically, we found the same hosts, and it gave us a report of what it scanned and how it scanned, and it told us that it's doing a send stealth scan, because we did a little bit of a different scan on this one. What ports are open, MAC address, and in this case, we told it to do some OS guessing, so it came back and told us that this was Windows XP. So that was a little bit of information. It also did some enumeration. It gave us some NBT stat information and showed us some additional things. And again, this is basically just to show you the GUI anyway. So some interesting information there. It can also tell us things like the ports and the hosts. And one really cool thing is it can give us a little bit of a graphical map. Just kind of show us how the network is built. And obviously, if there's a lot of hosts out there, it looks a little bit better. The different host details and the scans that we did. So that's basically Nmap and Nmap from the command line, two useful tools that you can run to scan a network. And again, these are probably the most common tools out there for scanning. So learn these tools both for the exam and for real life.